Favorite time of the week, Wednesday, 11 o'clock Pacific time. I get to come on here and chat with you guys, and you're welcome to come on here today. We do have a fantastic guest here, but if you want to join us, it's at joinraylive.com. You'll come in, you'll be in the backstage. You'll see the charcuterie board, the hot tub with the Dove bars, ready to go here. But I'm not going to mess around anymore. I'm going to bring on our guest today because we are lucky to have this gentleman here. We've got Marc Mawhinney from the Coaching Jungle. Hey, Marc.
Hey, Ray. I just got dried off from the hot tub. It was very relaxing. Yes.
It was really cool. And on hot days, today's not that hot. That we have a mister there, and really fantastic. Sometimes people stick around for a few hours after the show and just hang out in there. But it's
a good setup.
So Marc is the founder of something called the Coaching Jungle. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is and who it's for?
Yeah, so the Coaching Jungle, it's obviously for coaches, go figure. And it's a Facebook group. It's a community that actually we celebrated the 9-year anniversary yesterday. Facebook popped up to let me know it was 9 years ago yesterday that I opened the group. And it's really, the group is for coaches, aspiring coaches, people interested in coaching to grow their businesses, right? Learn how to get more clients. And that's the name of the game, because if you don't have clients, you don't have sales coming in, it's hard to stay in business. And we have some other people that get in there, like entrepreneurs, maybe some agency owners, like VA agencies or Facebook ads or whatever, but it's all coaching or coaching adjacent.
What do you think the biggest mistake, the biggest hurdle that people have to get over to go from whatever it is they're doing to becoming a coach and make a living at it?
Well, one of the challenges I've seen, I've been doing it for almost 11 years now, helping coaches. And there's a real misconception out there that people think if they take a certification, they do all that stuff, then they get out in the real world, slap up a website, and people are going to be rushing to hire them, which would be great. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out like that usually. So I find that new coaches, when they're getting started, they think, oh yeah, well, I'll be coaching 80% of the time, and the other 20% will be a little bit of marketing, a little paperwork, bookkeeping, or whatever. And as you've probably seen in my experience, it's flipped. You know, you're spending 80 or maybe 90% of your time finding clients, and you're not coaching 80 or 90% of the time either. So if you're not comfortable with sales, you have to get around that block, because you are in business and you have to sell as a coach.
And one of the things that I talk about is I have a program called the Lean In Factor, because I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs that say, oh, I'm great at building rapport. And I'm like, oh, what's the problem then? Well, nobody's calling me and nobody's returning my emails and nobody's returning my calls. So there's this gap between stranger and connecting and building rapport that is connection that people are not good at. And one of the things that I found that types of people that you were talking about is they get this whole worry about being salesy or being bothersome to people. And what they're trying to do essentially is really sell harder, but more distinctly, what we need to do is remove the roadblocks between letting their customer buy and what they want to do. So it's a different angle on that, but it's the same type of thing, because you do have to, if you don't share your native genius with others and you don't tell them about it and give them an opportunity to get involved with you, you're actually being selfish to the world, because there's so many coaches out there that are really good at what they do. And you created a whole community of them and gave them an opportunity to hang in there. And one of the things that I love about the Coaching Jungle is putting random questions up and seeing what other coaches around the world are going to comment about it. You know?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that around sales. I was just rereading the book, The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. Todd was on my show years ago, and great book. I recommend people check it out. And one of the stories in that book, he was talking about a client of his who was in sales, but he was having trouble hitting his targets, and he was afraid he was going to get canned and lose his job. And so Todd poked around and asked him some questions. Basically, the guy hated picking up the phone and calling people, cold calling. And he said, what do you think of salespeople? And I'm paraphrasing here, but the guy said, well, they're just out to make a buck, and they annoy people because people know they're trying to make money from them or whatever. And obviously that was the block. It sounds like common sense, but sometimes we don't see it if it's staring us right in the face. And so Todd had to get him around that. And it went back to what you were saying. You're selfish if you're not sharing a solution. It's like the whole sin of the desert. If you had someone in the Sahara that you saw that was about to die of dehydration, and you're sitting there with a whole bunch of excess water, well, the sin of the desert you would be if you're not helping them when you could. And that's definitely big. I recommend people change their phrasing. Instead of who am I going to sell today, who do I have to sell today, who do I get to help today? One word makes a huge difference.
And reframing it. The phrase I always use is you have to reframe it to tame it, right? Yeah. We all have these issues in our head, and we all worry. And you were talking about credentials and things like that. We all worry that we're not qualified, and the world's going to find out that we're not as good as everybody thinks we are. And guess what? That happens to everybody. But one of the seminars that I just did, I like to give a good actionable takeaway right in the beginning, that they go, oh, wow, this is worth every penny I spent for it. And I had a group of people that are speakers that wanted to speak professionally, and they had some success, but they didn't know how to do it. So what I did was I had them sit down and write down the 3 names of people that had asked them to speak, either low fee, no fee, didn't really matter, but that they enjoyed that person and they enjoyed the speaking event that came out of it. And I had them write one simple email. I said, do not vary from this, take off your logos, make it as if you're talking to a friend. And the email was this. It was, Mark, it's been too long. Let's catch up, Ray. And as soon as they hit send, there was about a minute later, 4 people were like, oh, I got a reply. Oh, I got a reply. Oh, I got a. And people don't realize how many people they have available to them that they're able to connect with, because all we want to do in order to get our message out there is be able to show our personality and the thing that we do well. And if we have that opportunity and you say yes or no, that's great. But most people won't even give you the opportunity to take a look at the person.
The key is to have something that you truly believe in. So I've had people say to me, my mom she would say, oh, you could sell ice to Eskimos, Mark. And I don't think Eskimos politically correct anymore. So my apologies if any Eskimos are listening or watching. But I actually corrected her because I have to love what I'm selling to be able to sell it. So, for example, my whole life I've avoided network marketing, MLMs. It's just not my thing. All the power to someone if they enjoy it. It's just not for me. And I caved into a very persuasive friend, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And I said, it's for a coffee company. I don't even drink coffee, so it's probably a red flag there. And I said, okay, let me give it a try. And I just sucked at it. I did 30 meetings, 0 sales. It was awful. I just gave away all the coffee and there was hot chocolate with the company too. I kept the hot chocolate. But with coaching, it's much easier. And here's a perfect example. We're doing this today. You are one of the Coaching Jungle VIPs that we have a perk in there that allows those members to post promotional offers on the wall and stuff. And I launched it in late May of this year, and I had an early bird ending by June 30th. And I set a goal. I said, I'm going to send 1,000 messages by June 30th. So that was about 250 a week. Now, that was a combination of the written word, email, Facebook Messenger, so on. But a lot of them were actually audio messages. And I knew some of the people I was sending messages to. Some I'd never spoken to before. They were just members of the group. And I wanted to tell them about it. And the thing sold like hotcakes. Like you're in there, so you know how many people. We have almost 100 people in there. The 1,000 messages included follow-ups as well. It wasn't 1,000 unique touches, but it was an easy sell for me because that VIP perk, it's $97 and it includes a bunch of stuff in there. And I really believe that it's worth what I'm charging. Now, if I was charging $1 million for it, I probably wouldn't feel the same selling it. Although if you want to pay me $1 million, Ray, I'll get you the PayPal details. We'll change it. So yeah, you have to feel really good about what you're selling. And I think a lot of coaches aren't confident perhaps or they haven't articulated the results their offer is giving, or they haven't gotten enough results yet. And then that shows up subconsciously when they're trying to sell it. They hold back.
I 100% agree with what you're talking about there. One of the things I talk with people about is their native genius. And one of the things that you have to do to be successful in order to be an entrepreneur is you have to own your native genius. You have to believe that what you do is great and it's special. It's unique. It has to be so unique that you can charge unique pricing for it. And you have to believe that you are better, stronger, faster than most, not all, just most. And that you do this. And then what you also have to believe is that what you do, and this is so important, that what you do, if I take what's in my head and put it in yours, it's transformational to other people's lives and their business. And if you can own to those three things, because the problem is, and I face this, I had to overcome this in my own eyes. All I do is talk. Who would pay for that? You know, it's everybody can talk. It's just so simple. And by the way, for those of you watching, I put there's a link. I know it's real long, and I'm going to put the link in the comment section. But this is if you want to go and see Marc about the Jungle VIP. This is how to sign up for it. There, it's a great value. It's less than $100 a month to be able to be in front of like almost 26,000 coaches and entrepreneurs and amazing people in this group, and you get value from it. People are always offering stuff to show you what they can do, and they've got great ideas, and it's just part of this whole thing is the community and what you can do and how you can grow from it.
Yeah, I heard someone I was speaking with the other day, actually interviewing him for my podcast, and he was talking about Facebook ads, and he basically said, as a minimum, to get a good handle on things, test and get results, he said you're probably gonna have to spend at least $1,000 a month on Facebook ads, and that's probably on the low end. So this is 1/10 of the low end of that. A good way to test offers, to get your stuff in front of a lot of coaches. Full disclosure, that is an affiliate link for Ray, but it's a great way to support him. It's not enough for you to buy a mansion on the hill with it, Ray, or anything like that. But, you know, there is an affiliate program, and that's the other advantage when joining. You know, if you get other people joining in too, then that pays for your, a couple would pay for your monthly VIP, basically.
It could be a tiny little mansion, you know, for ants. You know, people always talk about their relatives moving in. Well, you just take it literally. It's their aunt's mansion over on the little side out there.
It reminds me of Zoolander. Remember they had the scale. I can't even remember the crazy name for it. It was like a school or educational system. And Ben Stiller, you know, Zoolander thought that was the actual building. And he's like, you know, kids will never be able to fit in there, you know, or whatever. Will Ferrell's the evil, the bad guy, and he's kind of looking like, what's this guy's deal? So that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, no, there's so many great things out there. I just spent last weekend in Eugene, Oregon, visiting places that were in the movie Animal House.
Oh, nice.
I actually went to the original Dexter Lake Club that was there.
You know what? And I'm embarrassed to say this. I've seen clips from Animal House. I was born in '78, so it was, I won't say before my time, but I wasn't really movie watching age, because when did it come out? In 70, what was it, 9?
I think it was 78.
78, yeah, probably. So I need to go back and watch it, because it keeps popping up in books that I'm reading. I'm reading some different books on Hollywood and stuff now, and obviously it was huge back in the day, still is, right? So yeah, that's inspired me to watch it.
So while you were you know, crying and getting diapers changed, I was sneaking into Animal House. Like, oh, I snuck into that movie over 50 times.
See, and that's what I love about Animal House. What I know of it is it paved the way for, there's a lot of comedy starting in Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorites. Like when that came out in '93, I think. It shows how old I am. Blockbuster Video was around. So my brother and I and a friend rented Dumb and Dumber, and we watched it like almost 10 times over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just nonstop. But then Animal House also paved the way for those great comedies in the early 2000s, you know, to 2010 probably, or whatever, before woke became a thing and you couldn't make any jokes that would offend anyone. But like there's great movies like Wedding Crashers, Old School, just so many ones that I love, and they wouldn't be around if not for Animal House. So
it's so funny. I went to a wedding. I met this woman in traffic school, and I just kind of befriended her. and she invited me to her wedding. And I brought my girlfriend at the time. This is before Wedding Crashers, but there was this big thing where they had everybody sign it. And what I put on there is like, yeah, it looks like a great wedding. I don't even belong to anybody here, but I just came for a free meal, and signed a fake name to it. And all of her friends were like livid and were trying to find the person that snuck into it. And she came up to me, the bride came up to me and said, you did that, didn't you?
It'd be an interesting experiment. I was talking with my cousin about that before. I said, us two single guys should hit, a bunch of weddings here in my part of the world. And I said, probably wouldn't work here. I'm in a small province in Canada, so it's not exactly California, and I think we would be found out. Plus, we're a little old for that now, but it would be an interesting experiment.
Yeah, and I think you could easily pull that off in a lot of different ways. I'm actually in October, my niece is getting married, and I'm doing the ceremony. I've done 2 other ceremonies. They're both still married, so I'm 2-0.
Nice. Okay.
I'm an undefeated wedding officiant at this point.
Yeah, one of my best friends is he was a lawyer. Now he's a provincial court judge, and then he also officiates weddings on the side. So I've seen the amount of work. He takes it very serious, and he handled my brother's wedding and my sister-in-law and some other ones. So yeah, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. When my brother got married for the second time, I didn't do the first one. I did the second one. The bride came down and they had the music going, and somebody said, "Oh, stop," because it was a smaller wedding. Stop! We forgot to turn on the video. And I said, "Okay, just stop, walk backwards." And I started going, yip, 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 like it sounded like you were talking backwards. Yeah, I take it very seriously too. So tell me more about what are some signs if somebody's sitting there thinking about being a coach, or they are a coach, and what's some signs that they should look for and go, oh my God, the coaching jungle is the perfect place to be. I need to be a VIP.
So, there's millions of Facebook groups, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this are members of 200, 300 groups. So it's like, why should I be in another group? One of the reasons that we've had the longevity and it's grown so much is I like to think there is value in there. And it's also not just the Marc show where, a lot of times group owners like, no, these are all 26,000 potential clients for me. No one else can post. It's just going to be me talking. And then it's tumbleweeds because people are like, well, I don't want to take part in that. I've always taken a very collaborative approach, kind of abundance, where I share my space with other people like yourself who has something that's valuable to offer my community, because I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea for 26,000 people, or I'm not an expert in everything. So I even look to pull people in. If someone asks a question, let's say, for example, about webinars or book writing or something, I will tag in experts and VIPs that I know that are in those niches just to pull them into the conversation. So we touched on earlier, it's, I think, a very inexpensive way, $97 a month to get your offers out in front of a lot of people. But the other part of it, which you alluded to as well, is the partnering, collaborating with, meeting the other VIPs. We have almost 100 VIPs in there now. They're all so much knowledge, experience. I wouldn't even know how to guess a number of years in business. And what's cool is they're now connecting, mingling, starting to partner up on stuff. So there's a promotional aspect in the Facebook group, but then there's also a private VIP group just for the VIPs to play together.
And what's fantastic is an entrepreneur is like a lone wolf, and the coach is out there. And so when you think you have a problem, you think you're the only person out there. And you think you have a roadblock, you're the only person that ever had this roadblock. It's like being a teenager all over again, right? Yeah. And when other people say, oh yeah, I've handled that, here's what you need to do. Or and one of the things that Marc does tremendously in there is he continues the conversation so others will get involved. Because he's not trying to get everybody in on his own thing. He wants people to be involved and work together and create this community that thrives, because there's 8 billion people in the world. We don't need all 8 billion as our clients. Matter of fact, if you only dealt with people who are 1 in a million in a world of 8 billion, there's 8,000 just like them. So, and you don't need all 8,000 as your client. Give me 20, and that's all you need. And it's a fantastic place to share and to learn. And some people do come in do business in here. I know there's another member of the Coaching Jungle, RH Riyadh, that just gave us a thumbs up over on Facebook, which is fantastic. Thank you for that. And it's just a great community to be in.
Yeah, I think the whole goal of the community, and there is talk about the craft of coaching and stuff, obviously, but it's trying to fill a gap for the business of coaching, where people can learn more about getting clients, which I think is needed. So it's a fun group, and we're really tight on the rules. Hey, RH. So usually what will happen if somebody breaks a rule in the group wall, that's going to happen, right? Like people are in a bunch of groups and maybe didn't read the rules or whatever. So we'll delete it. We'll give them a note why it was deleted. And then we usually set to post approval. But then if they break another rule, they didn't get a hint, they hint the first time, then we just kick them out. So we've kept the group really clean. And I've been in groups where it becomes the Wild West. I was in a coaching group once, which used to be great. And there's about 4,000, I think the coaches were in there at one time. And then the admins took their eye off the ball and stopped moderating. Basically, you're showing up in the group. Oh my God, it was like QVC or whatever, Home Shopping Network and and everything else, like it's just crazy. So that's one of the reasons it's, I think, been a good resource for people. And it's funny, sometimes I've had people sheepishly admit to me, like on a Zoom call or something, like, yeah, Mark, I got a couple clients from your group this year or whatever. I'm like, don't feel bad about it, because you're giving a lot of value and you're helping to contribute to the group. So I want you to be compensated for that. But they do it the right way. And I mean, Mike McMahon, he's one that comes to mind. He's one of the VIPs like yourself. And Mike has told me he's got business from it, but he doesn't like spam the wall and do all the cheesy tips and tricks. He comments when people are asking questions. He gives his honest opinion, doesn't sell, just says, hey, here's what I'd recommend or whatever. And then they reach out to him organically. And that's because he led with value first, as opposed to just, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. And that's great. I want Mike to get clients from it, or anyone if they're contributing to the group.
Yeah, the two things that come to mind. One is all the VIPs that I've noticed there, they give away a lot of their program for free to people on the Coaches Jungle. And what they do, and it's amazing how this works out in life. How often have you reached down to lift somebody up and had them reach back and lift you higher? So it's really a great world for that. And it's a great community. And there's so many people out there that need what we're doing. There's enough for everybody in that whole thing to thrive on. 26,000 could be doing well.
I just finished reading a book by Michael Singer. He's the one that wrote The Untethered Soul years ago. But he has a book called The Surrender Experiment. And the Surrender Experiment is basically his life story. It's a lot like a memoir, but he tells all these situations in his life when he gave into the universe, surrendered, helped someone when he probably most people wouldn't have, or whatever. He just, no, the universe is putting this person in front of me, I'm going to help them. And then he ends up getting rewarded 10 times, 100 times over. His life's really, it's an incredible story. And that's another great book I recommend people check out, because it's good to have boundaries. Don't get me wrong. Like, you'll get eaten alive if you don't have any boundaries in the online space. But I feel like it's easy to get very jaded and cynical and think, put a wall around you and no, I'm not going to help someone unless they pay me or whatever. And then that's not always the best either. So it's if you give value, Bob Berg, who wrote the Go Giver, he's coming back on my podcast for the 900th episode, which is coming up. He told me years ago when he was on the show in 2015, he said, money is an echo of value. So he was basically saying, if you put enough value out into the marketplace, it's going to come back to your bank account or to your wallet.
And one of my mentors in this whole world, and I know you know him, author of Do It Selling, Do It Marketing, David Newman, he gives away so much stuff before, and I didn't even know who he was, but he'd given me so much stuff, and he actually created my first big paid client before I even knew who he was, just from the emails that he sent out. And I finally was working with him, and I went to tell him the story, and I look back and go, oh my God, it's you. And so what goes around comes around. It really, really does. And it's so great to have people in the thing is, coaches are natural givers anyway. And so they're going to give away so much in that community that they create just tremendous value just by being there.
Yep. It's a funny thing with coaches, from interviewing so many of them for the podcast and speaking with them, is a surprising number told me that in high school, they were the type that people would always come to for help. If they needed advice, support, whatever, they just tended to attract them like magnets. And that explains why they're good coaches now. With it, they're good listeners for friends and classmates in high school. Same thing later in life.
Well, I want to let everybody know here, if you want to get a hold of Marc, it's Marc at naturalborncoaches.com. Is coaches or coaching?
You got her. That's right.
Coaches.com.
Yeah.
And the coaching jungle VIP is the way to go. The link is down there. Thank you so much for the insight with all these great coaching things in that site that you have, and keep up the good work. And again, thank you so much for being out here. If you need me, or if you need Marc, if you put a chat, if you're watching this later, put a comment in the chat. If you have questions for Marc, I'll make sure he gets it. Questions for me, I'll make sure that I answer it for you. And I'll see you next Wednesday when we got another, I forget who the guest is, but it is one of the people from the coaching jungle there. So I filled the calendar over the next month and a half.
I saw that. That's good. That should be fun. So thank you, Ray. Thanks, everyone.
All right, everybody. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.